Hey guys, good afternoon. What a lovely venue this is, isn't it? Well, right now, crypto is a $1 trillion asset class, which might sound like a lot of money, but it's not 2 trillion, not 3 trillion. And to get to that number, there are a few pain points we have in the industry. That might be UI, UX, it might be regulation, might be knowledge, it's a lot of things. And on stage are, two big brains that can really discuss this and discuss why crypto, why Web3 have, these pain points. So why don't we do a quick intro, say who you are, where you're from, and what you think the biggest pain points in Web3/crypto is right now.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Seong. I'm from Robinhood Crypto. I lead product for the crypto business here. In terms of what I think are the biggest pain points in Web3 adoption, it's probably three things. It's one, what are you using it for? Two, how do you reach users? There's just a lack of distribution platforms today. And then three is probably what we're solving today, which is the wallet interface itself. So yeah, it's a quick intro of me.
Hey guys, I'm Jay. I'm a co-founder and chief product officer at Magic. I think the pain points at a high level, probably I have three, first one would be regulation actually, and then the second would be education. It's not just educating the end users, it also comes down to educating the enterprises with the actual big mainstream user base that's looking to enter Web3. And then third one is innovation around UX. I still think today when you go across dApps, like when you go to OpenSea, there's still a lot of wallets to choose from, and you want to take your assets from one dApp to another. It takes crypto savvy kind of knowledge to be able to do that, and it's asking a lot for the mainstream users to do so.
It's a good point, actually. So when you define mass adoption, right, does that mean that every retail user has a wallet, every Goldman Sachs trader has a wallet? And with those two scenarios, what are the problems in both, right? Why can't grandma be on MetaMask, but also why can't a Goldman guy on Wall Street do the same thing?
So I think with mass adoption across enterprise and retail, you kind of need both. And you need it on the enterprise and institutional side because they're the ones providing liquidity. And without liquidity, you don't get good pricing on crypto. And if you don't get good pricing on crypto, it becomes too cost prohibitive for the everyday person to get into the game. So I think there's a lot of hurdles for institutions to get into the space. I think the lack of safe regulated exchanges is definitely something that's becoming more of a pain point for institutions. I think on the consumer side, one of the biggest issues is, again, I think it comes back to what are you using it for? I think the fact that we talk about Web3 as a single thing is probably the wrong way to go. Web3 is a tool to go somewhere, and I think those tools are still being developed. And two, there just isn't enough distribution and ways to reach users, which I think are bigger pain points that aren't necessarily being solved in the best ways today. And then three is the cost to get into the space itself, which is how do you onboard onto a wallet, which itself is extremely difficult.
So 5 years ago when I started the company, there was only MetaMask, and everyone's looking at a wallet from B2C point of view. Everyone needs to own a wallet, everyone needs to know how to manage their portfolio, how to manage their assets, how to manage ERC20, ERC721, etc. But today, the way we see it is there's a lot of angles. I think, Goldman Sachs, I think the way the financial institutions, I think they can work with exchanges that provide the service, but also there's a lot of key management algorithms coming out where they can kind of implement it on-prem and then own or manage crypto on their own. Now, when it comes to end users, how we're seeing it today, we're actually tackling that path through going to the enterprise. We've been working with Mattel, Macy's, and these other big enterprises, and it's not about actually installing a wallet for the users. It's actually about going into their existing tech infrastructure. So for example, Mattel, they built their site using Shopify, and they already have Auth0, which they use to manage identities and the logins for the end users. You don't have to replace that with MetaMask or these other wallets first. You can first start off by just going under the hood, kind of adding the underlying tech with Web3, where we, as Magic, we help wallet be installed behind the Auth0 identity. So that's an example of how we can first enable the wallet experience. I think later in the future, when there's a lot more use cases around Web3, and when people are more comfortable with taking their assets across different apps and et cetera, that's when they can probably be graduate to owning their own wallet, or they can stick to staying in like Mattel's wallet system or like Macy's wallet system, et cetera.
So what do these firms look for? Like, what does Mattel or Macy's want from your company? And how is that different from like other kinds of big corporates out there?
Yeah, so Mattel, Macy's, I would view them as more of a company that's invested in like loyalty, rewards, memberships, and et cetera. And for them, what they needed was not changing the UX. Like people talk about innovating the UX in Web3, and that makes sense because like if you were to innovate on the current, like for example, OpenSea, Uniswap, and how the dApps have been showing their UX today, there's a lot of improvements that can be made. On the Web2 side, people are already comfortable with the UX. Like Web2 kind of has spoiled the users with the UX, right? And that is the best UX. So Mattel and Macy's, they wanted to keep exactly as it is, and then introduce Web3 behind the scenes. And that's how Magic came in. And what we provide is a like infrastructure wallet SDK that can be easily plugged into any system without pretty much changing the UX. But also on the tech side, as an engineer, you don't need to change much to implement Magic SDK. So that's how we've been helping Mattel and Macy's.
Yeah, so it looks like then like for Web3, its advantage is infrastructure and plumbing, not so much UI UX, right? Web 1 to Web 2 was a huge jump in UI UX quality, but Web 3, it's not quite there yet. Would you agree, it seems like?
I agree, but at the same time, I think, so the first step is piggybacking off of Web 2 UX. That's first. The second step is, I like to use Venmo as an example. Like people, in the old days, it'd be hard to go across different banks and then transfer money, right? But Venmo made it really easy for you to transfer money from like Chase or like Bank of America, et cetera. I think the first step with crypto is just enabling Mattel and Macy's to be able to launch Web3 on their own. But later on, if they need to interact with one another, or like with more enterprises in the future, I think that's the UX that could be different than Web 2 in the future, which we don't know. But technology will definitely help enable that, I would say.
So what's Robinhood then? Is Robinhood a Web 2 company, a Web 3 company, or like a hybrid of the both?
Yeah, so Robinhood is definitely a little bit of both. So we both have a custodial trading platform where users can come at the very beginning stages of their crypto journey, and this is what the Web 2 experience looks like. There's almost no knowledge required of how to get started in crypto, and I don't think that is ever going to go away. And I think maybe Magic.Link is kind of doing something like that for everyday users. We also have a fully self-custodial crypto wallet where we didn't want to shy away from the fact that there are a growing number of these beginner users who started their crypto journey by buying Bitcoin, but eventually wanted to graduate to a self-custodial wallet. But the wallets out there were just too difficult. And the way we solved that was we wanted to build a wallet that was instantly usable and useful from day one. And yeah, that's a little bit of what we do.
So when people think about crypto, they think about number go up, right? But the problem with that is also it goes down as well. Look at, say, last year, FTX, all the big scandals right there. But Web3 is part of crypto, but it's not all about number go up. So how do we educate users that Web3 is part of the crypto family, but not about Bitcoins or shitcoins?
Yeah, I think it's a tough challenge because at least from my point of view, which is what I see our users doing every day on the self-custodial wallet, the primary use case for these users is still trading on decentralized exchanges and getting access to tokens that they can't otherwise get. I think a big, it's hard to get an everyday person, a consumer, to learn about Web3 use cases and be excited about it. You need the use cases to be so compelling that they don't care whether it's Web3, they don't care whether they have to walk to an ATM to go do something. Yeah. And I think the issue is that those extremely compelling use cases just aren't there yet. And I think even if they were there just aren't great ways to reach people. So for example, today, the best distribution platform in the world is the App Store on Apple. But if you want to do and access any Web3 use case, you either see it on Twitter or you see your friend talking about it, but there's really no trusted and safe place to go find all these use cases in one area and figure out what is going to help you in your life. So I think without those two things, it's really, really hard to teach someone to care more versus just show them and give them a reason to without them really having to think about it. Yeah.
I see it in two ways. I think first is you need to fully abstract away. And I think we're seeing right now how crypto is being abstracted away through using NFT. Yeah. Or and also it's not just like trading NFTs. Also, crypto is being abstracted away through, for example, betting markets. Like Polymarket is one example that's built on top of Magic.
Love those guys.
Yeah, yeah, we love those guys too. Yeah, they started using Magic in the early days. But anyways, like through like betting, through participating loyalty, through like other means of the actual use case, I think the crypto can be abstracted away. The other one I see is if crypto was given more like as passive income. For example, let's say you sell your NFT in a secondary marketplace. But you entered in Web3 through fiat first, right? And then let's say you bought a NFT with $20 worth of USD, and you listed a marketplace, and you actually acquired $20 of USDC, or you acquired $20 of Ethereum. In that case, they got in to play around with the NFTs. They didn't get in to actually bet on crypto and then see how the prices move up and down, right? I think that could actually kind of widen the appetite on holding crypto, and I think that could actually really help. Yeah, within the option when it comes to more crypto.
So I guess one other issue here is safety, right? Like the App Store on iPhone, for instance, that's not the first place you could download programs online from, right? But it's a safe, easy, fun place. Now with crypto, you hear every day about someone getting scammed because of a phishing attack or rug pull, stuff like that. So how do you guys work to build safety into the crypto/Web3 experience?
Yeah, so a big part of how we did that on the wallet is first, we aligned on the principle of transparency. So a lot of wallets do a really terrible job of telling you when you're about to sign something that gives a program access to all of your funds. And so there's just like very basic things that we did on the Robinhood wallet that lets users know very clearly in bold letters. And we're not talking fancy UX here. It's literally a warning that says, hey, if you sign this, this app has access to all of your money. So there's the first step of transparency and making it clear to the user what they're signing. The second part is we do have a Web3, essentially like a marketplace on our wallet today. A big part of what we did is we did take that initial step of vetting the dApps that are going to be there. And I don't think that initial step of vetting which dApps are there, have they been through any security audits, et cetera, that sort of necessary step has to be there. And if you look at the Apple App Store, that's also how they review every app that's coming on. So there's these two very basic steps that we've taken. In terms of how we scale this model to hundreds and thousands of Web3 apps, that's sort of the next big challenge for us over the coming years. So yeah, if we talk again in 12 months, maybe we'll have solved the problem. But yeah, it's still something that we're definitely figuring out.
Okay.
Yeah, so how we've been tackling is from a technical level. So if you look at the traditional auth systems in Web2 world, there's like Okta, Auth0, and they have security measures around like device registration. If it's a new device, then they make sure that you sign it through your original device to ensure like you own that identity. And there's other security measures that they've been adding on the Web2 side. We've kind of taken that playbook on the Web3, but applying that more on the transaction level. So let's say if the transaction seems malicious, or if the user is interacting with potentially about to interact with the malicious smart contract, we do transaction monitoring on our side to help with adding security levels on top of that, and we let developers to show that so that they can enable the end users to be able to avoid that situation.
But is all of this boomer-proof? Because boomers love the App Store as it's safe and it just works, right? But it seems like to get to that next level of retail adoption, you have to get grandma and grandpa on board with this. And would they know what a malicious app is, or do they want like a walled garden that just works okay?
That's a great question. And I want to say that it can't be walled garden, but actually it's starting with walled gardens from what we're seeing. So we've been working with Macy's, Mattel, as I mentioned, and they wanted to start off with their own kingdom or walled garden, as you would put it. The reason why is actually, number one reason is actually due to UX, right? As I talked about, they want to keep the same UX. But the second reason is they don't want any responsibility to be held by the end user. Like seed phrase is definitely no question. Yeah. But on top of that, anything that touches crypto, when it comes to education and knowledge, they don't want the user to be able to worry about that. So for that reason, they've started out with walled garden. And I think it will come down to two, where the first one would be that maybe security infrastructure in the Web3 space matures a lot more, where that enables these companies to be able to get out of the walled garden and be able to take advantage of interoperability. Yeah, and then I think the second is the user actually being more educated on using crypto. But like you said, like grandmas or even my mom, or I think people outside of Web3, it's laziness, right? And people want convenience. So I see the education part being a little, definitely harder on that end.
Yeah, I think it has to be a little bit of both. So at Robinhood, we offer two modes of working with crypto. The first is you have a custodial trading app where you can log in with your email and password, and it's very standard and traditional. And that lets you access a very limited set of things very easily. And then there's a self-custodial wallet, which is a separate app that you have to be a little bit more advanced, but it's still pretty intuitive. But I actually don't think you can get to a model where it's foolproof for the boomers of the world until regulation, and I'm talking specifically within the US, and I don't know country by country what the regulation is, until regulation is actually clear for what you can do in the United States. So a lot of the reason the Web3 apps are built the way they are today is because they're essentially trying to outskirt and move out of the bounds of regulation because it's unclear or they don't want to deal with it. And if you continue to have that, you're just not going to get to a place where you have safe ways to access some of these Web3.
Okay, so about regulation, both you guys are in Web3/crypto, but you guys don't run exchanges. Yet regulators want to talk about more than just securities, things like cyber safety, stuff like that. So have you spoken with regulators? And if so, what do they say to you guys?
This is probably the one thing that on the product side, I don't interface with regulators as much. So
what's like the mood right now, if you could?
So generally speaking, in the United States, there's definitely a lot of uncertainty, and I think it's, there's a lot of uncertainty, and it makes it really unclear what we can and cannot do and build for users.
Yeah, pretty much same as Seong. I think US definitely a lot more strict from what we've seen, and then, I recently visited Paris, and I heard that like UK is opening up more. So at least there's some positive sign that we're seeing right now. So. But that's as far as I know on the regulation side.
Sure. So it looks like a big theme as being UI UX. So what does the UI UX of the future look like? Because we've evolved a long way so far. Like in crypto's early days, you had to copy and paste wallet addresses, right? And now we're at MetaMask, where you still have to do that partially, but it's a bit more evolved. So looking at, say, the next 5 years, next 10 years, what do you see as the future of this?
I think it'll start with graduation path. So the way we put it is there's beginner, intermediate, and expert. Yeah. And when it comes to beginners, the UX has to stay exactly the same as Web 2, even if it means sacrificing some value props of Web 3. Because what's really important is getting the users into Web 3, getting their foot in the door, right? For intermediate, that's when they start kind of learning about, I can own my assets. What does it mean to really own my wallet? What does it mean to take my assets across different dApps? And that's when they would be introduced to potentially like a self-custody wallet, like maybe Robinhood app or like MetaMask. I think intermediate is where it goes further than MetaMask, where they actually live in that world. So you're actually, for example, instead of using Wealthfront or these banking apps, you'd be just banking with like Aave or a Compound, and then you'd be earning yield through that. Or let's say if you want to participate in like leveraging, like you maybe use DYDX and et cetera. That's how we see the expert world. And 5 to 10 years, I still think that we'll be sitting right in between beginner and intermediate. And people say like we should be going from Web 2 to Web 3. I think we should add one more step in between to be more pragmatic, which is Web 2.5. Okay. And to me, that is the 5-year plan. And in that world, I see more enterprises using Web 3 technology as an underlying tech. But in terms of like building a new Web 3 app, I don't think we'll be there yet.
So what's 2.5 then? Is that just having Web 3 in the background and having Web 2 in the front, or something else?
It's having Web 3 in the background. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think there's probably two modes that I see playing out 10 years from now or 5 years from now, whatever time horizon that we're talking about. The first is, I think along the lines of what Magic is doing, which is you don't actually have to think about NFTs or Web3 at all, and it's just embedded into your everyday life of things that you do. When you go to a concert, there's going to be, the best UX. There's this like very cliche quote that it's like it's unnoticeable, and I think that actually is the right way to describe how things should be here. I think that the second path is there's probably going to be the first path of like there's going to be a set of use cases that are so seamlessly blended in that you're never going to notice that it's on chain. The second path is wallets become sort of the WeChats of the future. And I have a pretty strong thesis on this, simply because they're just, like I mentioned before, I'm harping on the idea of distribution platforms. You need a distribution platform for all these Web3 apps and all the money that's invested in Web3 to reach users. You're just not going to get there with individual domain sites. And if you just logically think about it, wallets are the home for what that looks like. And so, yeah, I think wallets are going to become the WeChats of the future. I think you're going to see really great interfaces and user experiences that are that aren't built for developers. And I think 3 years ago, I'd say all the Web3 apps and wallets out there were very developer first focused, and now I want to say like with what Robinhood has done with our wallet, we've built a wallet that is like extremely consumer first with no thought to. Some thought to developers, but it's not our primary audience.
That's a good point, actually. Like the super apps in China, like WeChat, for instance, right? They all launched around 2011, just as smartphones there became really mainstream. And you could argue that they both drove each other's growth, right? But then what drives the Web3 super apps? Because we all have smartphones right now, and with super app in China, you can get a train ticket, movie ticket, dinner, whatever, on the same app. But Web3 kind of lacks that universe of usefulness right now. So what drives that growth?
So I actually think there was an opportunity for this back maybe in 2021 with the summer of DeFi. The main issue there is that I think most Web3 apps but they just weren't used to the traditional ways of engaging and retaining users. So for example, I think DeFi trading is going to stick around forever. I think it's one of the biggest use cases you have in Web3, and I think that's going to stay. There's ways to make a DeFi trading app extremely engaging and high retention, and that's what we did with Robinhood trading. But if you think about the way the DeFi dexes work, is you go to uniswap.org and you tap launch app, and you never come back again. So I actually think there was an opportunity to do this. I think being mobile first is like one of the first and most easiest things you can do, because then you can start retaining users. You can start sending push notifications, very basic things to get them back. Yeah. So
you say was though, right? As a past tense. So what went wrong? Like, why isn't it mainstream right now?
Well, I think if more apps were suited to sort of take the hype that was there and then capture the retention on it, the overall tide would be much higher now. But I think when the next wave comes, you can't control when people are going to be excited about something. It's just really hard to do. I think the best you can do right now is just build your products in a way where it's going to be high engagement for the everyday person, and talk to users and ask people who've never used crypto before to use your product and see if they can navigate through it. And then by the time the next bull run comes, you will have a product that's going to be engaging. And this is how we built Robinhood Crypto.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think, Jay?
I think we have one that we're seeing right now, which is stablecoin. People first question when USDC came out, or USDT, like what's the use of stablecoin? Like what's the real use case? But we're seeing lots of use cases, starting with DeFi that Seong mentioned, like during the yield farming days, et cetera. People wanted to, after they yield farm like different forms of crypto, they would kind of flock towards like USDC, USDT as like a safe haven, right? And also, Luna was kind of supposed to help with stablecoin growth, but then unfortunately Luna downfall happened, and then that really decimated like the stablecoin market for about a year. But we're seeing some comeback right now, and stablecoins being used for example, like remittances, possibly helping with borderless transactions. I think that's one way to kind of open up the crypto market. And obviously, I think a lot of verticals kind of need to fall through. Like, obviously, gaming is very big, and that should be evolving stablecoins and with crypto, which will be more focused on like the gaming ERC20, and then more verticals like loyalty rewards. Hopefully, will bring in more crypto as well. I think that's the way to help with crypto adoption compared to just kind of relying on people to learn crypto through like ETH and Bitcoin and just like a store of asset. That's how I see it.
Well, we saw this morning actually the announcement from Circle that they had now working with Visa to shoot USDC over Solana to help Visa settle transactions. So it's really amazing that stablecoins went from this thing that you would use to off-ramp crypto, so it's stable, to now being part of the stack for, I think, the world's biggest payment processor, Visa.
Exactly, and I actually put stablecoin in the crypto family. So people would say, oh, you got to see more ETH and more Bitcoin and more of these other crypto tokens being held by the consumers, but actually a lot of stablecoins, if they were to be facilitated within the blockchains, not just Ethereum and these other EVM chains and whatnot, I think that's a way to also measure the crypto growth market. I'm really excited for Visa and Circle working together because that's an actual real use case and that's scalable and we'll definitely reach the wide mass.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so last 5 minutes, let's do a quick plug. What are you working on and what's cool right now in your company?
So Robinhood Crypto, we have 3 products. Our first product is, as I mentioned, our core custodial trading app. Available in the United States. We're probably, for the most major coins, the cheapest place for simple retail traders to trade crypto. We have a fiat to crypto on-ramp, which if you're a Web3 app and you have US customers and you need help getting users to buy crypto on your app, we're definitely going to be, again, the cheapest option for you. We support Bitcoin, ETH, USDC, etc. And then our third product is a fully self-custodial Robinhood self-custodial crypto wallet. No KYC required. It's globally available. One thing that we're excited about, and I'd love to talk to anyone in the crowd, is we're always looking for more Web3 apps to partner with for a wallet itself. And so, if you're interested in reaching a much larger user base, primarily US focused, definitely we should talk.
Jay?
Yeah, Magic, we are the leading wallet as a service provider and really focus on seamless onboarding through instant and seamless wallet creation. To this date, we have over 25 million users signed up with us and over 140,000 developers and hundreds of enterprises working with us, notably Mattel, Macy's, 7-Eleven, and also Immutable Passport, which is built on our key management. And what we work on is really holistic onboarding infra, and that starts with wallet. And we built this key management system called Delegated Key Management System, which is patented, and it was built ground up 4 years ago with my co-founder. And this is really built for scale, performance, reliability, and availability. So when companies have a huge influx of volume, for example, 100,000 users coming into the space, we're able to support that volume and even more, and even millions, right? So our goal is to not really focus on just helping with growing the Web3 space alone, but also the real users are in the Web2 space. Like one enterprise could have millions of users, hundreds of millions of users, and our goal is to get them. So that's what we've been working on. And on the holistic onboarding infra, we offer wallet services. We also offer NFT minting, like checkout, anything that you need to launch your Web3 strategy. So whether that be gaming, loyalty, rewards, etc., we help with that. And we also make it really easy for developers. I'm a developer by background. My co-founders as well. I went to Waterloo, where Vitalik also went, the creator of Ethereum. And we really value developer experience a lot. So if you want to get started, just let us know and we'll be ready.
Well, guys, that was awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks.